Can you believe this? A senator wanted by the International Criminal Court vanished inside the Philippine Senate after gunshot erupted in the middle of the night. A former president is now on trial in The Hague. A vice president has been impeached twice. And a sitting president is locked in a brutal power war against one of the country's most feared political dynasties. This isn't a Netflix political thriller. This is the Philippines in 2026. And what's happening right now could reshape the balance of power across Southeast Asia. Stay until the end, because somehow the ending gets even crazier. The insane political crisis. In recent years, few democracies have experienced a political crisis as chaotic as the one unfolding in the Philippines. From assassination allegations and dramatic impeachment trials to feuding political dynasties and a fugitive senator disappearing after gunfire inside the Senate building, Philippine politics increasingly feels less like reality and more like a political thriller. But to understand how things spiraled this far, we need to begin with two names: Marcos and Duterte. The two dynasties dominating the Philippine politics has long been dominated by powerful political families. A handful of dynasties have effectively rotated power among themselves for decades. The first is the Marcos family, led by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., commonly known as Bongbong Marcos. He is the son of Ferdinand Marcos Sr., the former strongman who ruled the Philippines from 1965 until he was overthrown during the People Power Revolution in 1986. The second is the Duterte family, led by Rodrigo Duterte, the controversial populist leader known for his brutal anti-drug campaign. His daughter, Sara Duterte, is now one of the most influential politicians in the country. In the 2022 election, the two families shocked the nation by forming a political alliance called Uni-Team. Marcos ran for president, while Sara Duterte ran for vice president. Together, they won by a landslide. But there was one major problem. The alliance was built to win an election, not to govern together. From allies to bitter enemies less than 2 years into office, the Marcos-Duterte alliance began collapsing. In early 2024, Rodrigo Duterte publicly accused Marcos Jr. of drug use. In response, Marcos allies accused Duterte of trying to destabilize the government to regain influence. The political atmosphere quickly turned toxic. By June 2024, Sara Duterte resigned from Marcos' cabinet while remaining vice president, a clear sign the alliance had effectively broken apart. Then came the moment that shocked the entire country. In November 2024, Sara Duterte declared that if she were assassinated, she had already instructed someone to kill the president, the first lady, and the Speaker of the House. At that point, this was no longer just political mudslinging. Sara Duterte faces impeachment. In early 2025, the Philippine House of Representatives formally impeached Sara Duterte on allegations including corruption, misuse of public funds, betrayal of public trust, and threats against the president. Sara denied all wrongdoing and claimed the impeachment effort was politically motivated to stop her from running for president in 2028. And that's what makes this fight so important. Under Philippine law, if convicted by the Senate in an impeachment trial, a politician can be permanently banned from public office. In other words, if Sara loses, her political career could effectively be over. That is why the battle has become so ruthless. Rodrigo Duterte sent to The Hague while Sara was battling impeachment. Her father faced an even bigger crisis. In March 2025, former President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested and transferred to the International Criminal Court in The Hague to face charges of crimes against humanity linked to his bloody war on drugs. Human rights organizations estimate that thousands were killed during Duterte's anti-drug campaign, with many alleged extrajudicial executions. Duterte denies criminal responsibility and insists he was simply fighting crime. The sight of a former Philippine president being tried in an international court sent shockwaves through the country. But things were about to become even more unbelievable. Bato de la Rosa and the mysterious escape. The next key figure is Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. A former national police chief, de la Rosa was one of the main enforcers of Duterte's anti-drug campaign. In late 2025, the ICC secretly issued an arrest warrant against him for crimes against humanity tied to drug war killings. Then, on May 11, 2026, the warrant became public. What happened next felt almost surreal. De La Rosa suddenly appeared at the Senate to cast a decisive vote, replacing the Senate president with a Duterte ally. Shortly afterward, authorities attempted to arrest him. Security footage reportedly showed De La Rosa running through Senate hallways before barricading himself inside his office. His allies in the Senate immediately placed him under protective custody. 2 days later, gunshots erupted inside the Senate complex during a confrontation between Senate security personnel and government agents. No one was injured, but amid the chaos, De La Rosa somehow disappeared. As of now, he remains a fugitive. Why this power struggle matters so much? Because everything revolves around the 2028 presidential election. Despite the scandals and impeachment threats, Sara Duterte remains one of the strongest potential presidential candidates in the country. Meanwhile, Marcos Jr. cannot run again because the Philippine constitution limits presidents to a single 6-year term. That means the Marcos camp desperately needs a successor capable of preventing the Duterte family from returning to full power. And that is why removing Sara Duterte from politics has become a massive strategic objective. Anti-corruption campaign or political purge. The Marcos camp claims it is defending democracy and fighting corruption, but Duterte supporters argue that the entire campaign is simply political persecution disguised as law enforcement. This is one reason Philippine society has become deeply polarized. Many Filipinos believe the Duterte family must be held accountable for the thousands of deaths linked to the drug war. But others still view Rodrigo Duterte as the only leader tough enough to confront crime and corruption. Online, the political war between Marcos and Duterte supporters has become incredibly intense, generating millions of interactions across Philippine social media. The crisis could reshape Southeast Asia. What makes this crisis globally important is not just the political drama itself. It's the fact that the Marcos-Duterte feud also represents a major geopolitical divide. Rodrigo Duterte pursued warmer relations with China during his presidency. Marcos Jr., however, has shifted sharply toward the United States, strengthening military ties with Washington and Japan while taking a tougher stance against China in the South China Sea disputes. In other words, whoever wins this political war could determine the Philippines' geopolitical direction for years to come. What happens next? Right now, the Philippines looks like a political powder keg waiting to explode. A former president is on trial at an international court. A vice president hoping to become president faces possible political annihilation. A senator wanted by the ICC is on the run. And a sitting president is fighting to maintain power against the very dynasty that was once his closest ally. The Marcos-Duterte feud is no longer just a personal rivalry. It has become a battle over the future of Philippine democracy, and possibly the country's role in the growing power struggle across Asia. And perhaps the craziest part of all, this may only be the beginning. Thank you for following this story. If you found it interesting, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it. For now, this is goodbye. Thank you for staying with Societale Stories.